Hello and welcome to a Trekmate review. This week we're doing the Andorian Incident from Enterprise Season 1 and it's Episode 6. First aired 31st October 2001. My name's Jude Hawkins.
And my name's Wayne Emery. Okay, so let's kick this baby off.
Yeah, indeed you do.
Indeed you do. What was your first impressions? Because obviously, with the Andorians, even though they were featured in TOS, they've pretty much been missing in action for the rest of Trek.
Yeah, I think they were, weren't they? Totally.
Yeah, considering they're one of the founding members of the Federation.
Yeah.
We really didn't know much about them other than the awful antennas that were in TOS.
Yeah. The original awful antennas.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so grateful to Enterprise and this episode in particular for fleshing out the Andorians, because people may have not heard my opinion before, but yeah, I think TOS Andorians were pretty silly, you know.
Yeah, they're very gimmicky.
You can see why they chucked them away later on TNG and the shows after, but I think they did a great job at reintroducing them and really fleshing them out and making them an interesting species.
Yeah.
I mean, two things, like, two of the first things you see with the Andorians in this episode is one, for long-time fans of all the shows, I think the first Andorian you see is played by none other than Jeffrey Combs.
He is, yes.
Known for his many roles across DS9 and Voyager. He's a great character actor, and he plays, is it Shran?
It is Shran. It is Shran, the Andorian, and to be honest, I absolutely love Shran. The character that, obviously, this is where we're getting to see him very first of all. However, like later down the line, he gets so fleshed out and becomes such a likable character as well.
Definitely. Yeah, well, I think he does slowly through this episode. You know, they are introduced rather, at the beginning of the episode as the bad guys, because that's what you've seen them as before, all the decades before in TOS. That's all we've ever known the Andorians as, and that's what they presented to you as again. We'll get onto the story in a sec, but by the end of the episode, the very end of the episode, that changes, and that's what I like about this episode is the building of the character of the entire race of Andorians. But I was going to say also, in that very first scene, now that Star Trek has finally got some money pumped into it in the new millennium, the antennas of the Andorians are very much got a mind of their own. And
they actually seem like they're real living things.
They do, yeah, and it really looks cool. And I think later on, I'm just doing my rewatch again at the moment of Enterprise. I think later on they really begin to, the animatronic guys, whatever you call it, really, that they get the antennas to move with their expressions and emotions.
They fine tune it. The guys on the end of the remote controls have warmed up to it by that point, most definitely.
But even in this first episode, it might not be perfect, but just to see them moving at all is just like, cool, okay. They don't just look like they've put a girl's headband with little springy things on the top.
They don't look like they've been made at school.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the thing. There's no paper mache going on these babies.
No.
And to be honest, it is, other than the antennas, as we said, the actual portrayal by Jeffrey Combs is absolutely fantastic, but you wouldn't expect anything else, because I don't think I've seen him play a character in Trek that I was disappointed by.
No, not at all. And as you've said before on the actual main podcast, none of his characters remind you of the last one you saw him as.
Never. That's the thing.
You may recognise his features just slightly through all his prosthetic makeup, but you'd never guess that, he plays that just like he plays that. Definitely not.
There isn't even, from what, obviously I'm not an actor, so I don't pick up on little signs or anything, but just I don't see any of the same mannerisms in any of his characters either.
No.
So how this episode starts out is, if everyone remembers rightly, is the Enterprise is currently on their mission to explore, find strange new worlds, and Archer decides to make a pit stop off at a planet that he deems as interesting, which is a Vulcan planet that has a sacred monastery on that he wants to stop off and to have a look at, which T'Pol is quite disgusted at the thought because it's meant to be a sacred place.
Basically, the tiny bit that you missed out there is that they've been going by the Vulcan star charts that they've been provided by the Vulcans to this point. And Archer says to Trip, did you notice that we went past a star cluster yesterday, which is not on the charts? We're in unexplored territory for us now.
Yeah.
And that's when he says, oh, let's go there. And yeah, like you said, the rest.
Yes. No, exactly, because that's the thing. They had been very much towing the sort of lines that the Vulcans wanted them to go down. And and why would they not want to stop off and see some Vulcan culture?
Yeah, that's what he says. That's our mission. That's our mission to explore. So let's go do it. It's nothing more than that at that point, is it? And I think they also like the idea of pissing off T'Pol just that little bit when she's like, no, don't go down there, don't go down there. And they go, yeah, we're going down there. Fuck it.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. We ain't going to listen to you, honestly.
Yeah. They're fed up in 6 episodes in, they're already fed up of listening to the Vulcans.
To be honest, what amazed me is that within this entire planet, the only point of any interest is this one monastery.
Yeah, you know what? I've not thought of that. Yeah.
There was never like, oh yeah, but Captain, they are quite a secluded monastery. You might want to go and see these beautiful lakes and this building and that building. No, we'll just go to the monastery.
Yeah.
And also, it seems like the Andorians who had been harassing the monastery for suspecting them to be spying on the Andorian homeworld, there was nowhere else on the planet that they would have actually been investigating. It is definitely this monastery.
Yeah.
It's slightly suspect, but still.
Yeah.
Never mind. We'll go with it. That's okay. That's okay. So, and when they arrive, they discover. Well, T'Pol discovers some of the artifacts are knocked over to the wall.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a big deal to Archer and Trip and stuff, but yeah, she notices straight away that something's amiss, and even though they're joking about one of the Vulcans there, like, oh, he just seems the same as always. She's like, no,
he's agitated.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. That's when they discover that the Andorians are there. They smash through a paper curtain to knock over one Andorian, and then kindly get a gun in the face from the next, and are held hostage with the rest of the monks.
And Jeffrey Combs does a lot of beating of Captain Archer in this episode as well.
I was quite happy about that because, to be honest, we don't get enough good beatings on Star Trek. There isn't many times when people are like properly tortured and harassed.
Yeah.
And Archer takes it. He takes
it. Oh, he
well.
does. He does. He even asks for it. Basically, he acts as a distraction at some point in the episode, so Trip can go looking around to see what is going on here. To see which sides are telling the truth about this, spying stuff that the Andorians are investigating. And so Archer just sacrifices himself and just says, yeah, I'll go and get the shit kicked out of me for about 10 minutes while you go and find what's down there.
Exactly, because the majority of the episode takes place within 2 rooms. One room where the monks are being held, and then the other room where Archer is getting the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah, I think it's good, if you can do that without, spending loads of money on planet stuff and still have that be a really memorable episode like I think this is. I think that's great writing.
Yeah, it is, because that's the thing. It's not like without having to go through the phase of making elaborate sets and coming up with like reasons to go places. if you can contain it within such a small area and still make it compelling watching, then it's doing something right. That is for sure. And to be honest, at no point in this episode did I feel bored.
No, not at all.
Which is always my litmus for whether I'm enjoying an episode or not.
Yeah.
If I am bored, it's gone
TOS.
absolutely wrong. Well, no, I wouldn't say that. Even I would say like early TNG, you get the odd episodes in all of the series. I think even DS9 and Enterprise.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying it's a lot more.
It's a lot more prominent, especially when you get towards the end of TOS. I think.
Yeah. If you wake up like 40 minutes into the episode, you're like, okay, that's not such a good one with TOS.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's I shouldn't just pick on TOS. There is. All the series are guilty of that at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it's just easier to go to TOS for that because within Season 3 it is a lot more prominent. Season 1 and 2 is amazing, especially for the times that they were written in. However, Season 3 doesn't quite have it, but still. With this, can you remember back to when you was first watching it? When you very first saw this episode, did you suspect that the Andorians were right?
No, I don't think I did, and I think that's what I liked about it. As I said at the beginning of this review, like we'd only known Andorians as the bad guys to this point, and as Trek fans, we're always like bred to believe that Vulcans are good, Vulcans are peaceful, they're nice. They're not hiding anything. Why would they?
Yeah.
They say it. Spock says it, like Vulcans can't lie, which that's bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. He's fucking lying there. But and also, it's a question of when, up until this point, the Vulcans had just been more of an annoyance in the series as overbearing and seeing like they're trying to be either too protective of what they're allowing Enterprise to do, and you don't assume that to be for any reason to benefit their own needs.
Yeah.
So within this episode, I agree. When I was first watching it,
you second guessed the Vulcans, and
I did not suspect it. I just assumed that the Vulcans would be telling the truth.
And it opens up a whole new thing for the Andorians as well, which I think is great, where Archer and Shran form this, funny sort of friendship over the next 4 seasons. I really like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. The Shran and Pinkskin.
Yeah, Pinkskin. I don't know if it would have worked if Shran was in DS9.
No.
I don't know if the world would have been accepting.
No, maybe not. Yeah, I don't quite see whether that would pass through the PC police.
No, I don't think so, no.
I'm not sure if even Avery would have been comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Oh dear,
sorry.
but no.
Sorry to go down that route.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I think
it is a funny nickname, yeah.
It is a funny nickname, but at the same time, I think, to be honest, as members of our Caucasian species, we deserve to have any ribbing that goes at any point. So
it's fair enough.
I think pink skin is by far the least insulting thing that you could say. So obviously the ship is trying to get in contact with the away team. I do love that Malcolm is always wanting to just go guns blazing.
I agree. Yeah, I love that about Malcolm in every episode, every chance he gets.
Malcolm pretty much just wants to go in, destroy shit, and blow stuff up.
Yeah, he does make me laugh.
One thing I did love is at the night time when they were, it obviously got cold, and Archer invited T'Pol to share the blanket. Yeah, and she was like, "No, I'd much rather not. I haven't had my nasal suppressors for too long, and apparently Vulcans hate the smell of humans."
Yeah, that was a quote at the beginning of the episode as well, where when Trip and Archer were teasing her about going down there, and Trip says something like, "Admit it, you just don't like the smell of humans, do you?" Something like that.
Yeah. Oh dear. Though, right at the beginning, I did have to say, I don't know whether you noticed it, I captured it in the screen capture that will go on to the YouTube video, but the way that T'Pol rang the doorbell was a little bit suggestive.
No, I'll have to go back and look, or I'll look at the picture after we've spoken. No.
Yeah, no, it was slightly suggestive, so but that was just a random thought that just came into my head. So, yeah, and then, as you said, Archer buys time whilst Trip goes down into the catacombs to try and find. It was a transport. Was it a transport?
I'm not sure, but I just know that, obviously, one bit I was going to say at the beginning and I didn't say was one little scene, but I liked is Mr. Paul is actually going into the canteen. What do you call it in Star Trek?
I don't think it's actually got a name, has it? Other than
the mess
hall.
Mess hall, yeah,
maybe?
I think so, something like that. Yeah, T'Pol goes into the mess hall or eating area, whatever the fuck it's called.
Yes,
and
that
she
interaction.
Starts speaking to Phlox, and she's obviously expressing how she's not happy about the decision of Archer and Trip to go down. But Phlox then basically quotes back at her the famous Vulcan phrase, which escapes me, but I'm sure you'll remember it. The
infinite diversity in infinite combinations.
Combinations, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so, he was just... I like the fact that he's throwing that back at her because, she's having a little stress, like she doesn't want to go down there. And obviously Trip and Archer were just teasing her, but I think that's what they were getting at too, is,
Exactly. Phlox really reinforced what we already knew, that this is new for the humans.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So it is understandable that it fits in with their parameters of what their mission is, which T'Pol even confirms to Phlox, which is to the humans want to explore and find new worlds and new civilizations.
I know it's only a tiny thing as well, but I also liked that the fact while he was saying all this, he stole a piece of celery off T'Pol's plate, which she was eating, because that's all she ever eats is vegetables and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he eats it, and he's like, yeah, that's all right, as he's saying all this stuff. And then he just sort of dips the celery in his like big meaty curry, whatever he's eating, and then just starts using it as a spoon. I just thought that was a good touch to the speech. I thought it went well. Infinite diversity and all that.
Oh yeah, I think it works very well because I think that Phlox is a fantastic character, and I normally enjoy all of his interactions with the crew, and this is another one that I did enjoy.
Yeah, sometimes he may only be in an episode for a short time, but when he is, they make it worth it. They make him, Enterprise's sort of Yoda, in a way, with his wise words, which are, always mixed with a bit of comedy as well, so I like that.
Definitely. Skipping back to towards the end, they decide to go into the catacombs to try and find a piece of technology that would help. I can't remember if it was to actually help them communicate, or it was... I think it was some sort of communication device.
That would probably make sense. Yeah, I think I've forgotten that bit, but yeah, that would make sense.
It was a communication device because then they managed to get in contact with the ship because their communicators had been destroyed by Shran.
Look up the Andorians on the Vulcan database, but obviously whatever they see is going to be slightly biased.
Yes, exactly. And at that point, Malcolm manages to get together a team, an assault team, to actually come back. Gets together an assault team to come down to the surface to try and reclaim their captured crew members. Which obviously then turns into a full gunfight, or phaser fight, as it were. And then one of the Andorians actually sees the passageway, and they end up running down into the catacombs. Which at that point they're pursued because the Vulcans are not happy that there are their ancient artifacts down there that would...
Yeah, or that's what they keep saying anyway. That's their problem with people going down.
Which would be an absolute disgrace. So they're followed down there, and they're joined by one member of the Vulcan monastery who's decided to take arms, which is obviously something that the monks aren't used to. When they actually get down there, lo and behold, halfway through the gunfight, Archer is taking refuge behind some barrels and sees behind a curtain that there is, a half-fallen curtain, sees that there is a big-ass door, at which point he manages to open the door and call for a ceasefire because, lo and behold, the Andorians were right.
Cue the CGI gigantic room.
Yep, and what I loved is that all of the Vulcan scientists were still just walking about and acting oblivious that their cover had just got blown.
Yeah. Yeah, I did think it was a great moment though, like the comedy elements aside, like, you know, it's like we've said, it was a revelation.
Yes.
Is that the right word?
That is the right word. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
was a changing point for both species and a real building point for the series, I think.
Very much, because now at this point, we can't 100% trust the Vulcans. Yeah, we can't 100% trust the Vulcans, and the Andorians were absolutely vindicated for feeling the way that they did. And for their actions, they were right. And the first thing that Archer does to do that is ask T'Pol, does that device you've got have capabilities to take images? Yes, okay. Take images of everything, and then he hands it up.
Start scanning everything you can see. Yeah. And then he just says something to Shran like, you know, just get on your ship, just go now, like, because of all the stuff what's just happened before, you know, but like, don't worry, we'll sort this out, we'll get back to you.
Yeah, and
like, we're not on anybody's side, so we'll let you know what happens, and like, he just buggers off.
And lets Shran head off with all of the images of the
because he was right.
Device, because which, to be honest, right in that one point, he has garnered at least some level of respect from the Andorians.
Definitely, the Pinkskin's alright.
Yeah, because that's the thing, considering obviously they're heavily aligned with the Vulcans, these Pinkskins aren't all bad. That's the thing, they saw reason. And to be honest, the way that the Andorians are portrayed, I think they're almost like the closest species that we've got. They're the closest species that we've got that share very, very similar personality traits to ourselves.
Yeah.
I think they are the closest thing to humans in all of the alien species.
Yeah, it's very fair to say. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he definitely garnered a lot of respect that day.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot, and that, you know, everything that comes after, which I'm sure we can revisit the relationships between Enterprise, humans, Starfleet, and the Andorians in more episode reviews, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I think so too. So I think all in all, for me, even though it is contained mainly within 2 rooms, it's a very dialogue-heavy episode.
It is, yeah.
You get to see how much of a badass Archer is, in the sense of he can take a good beating and not break.
And Shran dishing it out.
It's a very vital episode in introducing the Andorians, and more importantly, introducing Shran.
Yep. He's no Wayoon, is he?
No, definitely not. And he's a character that comes back many times later on, and becomes a vital part of the series. So it very much is a important epised for Enterprise.
It is. I think it's a game changer, isn't it, of an episode?
Most definitely. And what was all in all? What's your thoughts on the episode?
I'm glad they made it. You know, these sort of stories could have just been left. They could have left Andorians as the bad guys forever in people's minds, and Vulcans as this perfect race. But they completely flipped that and twisted the story and made all the long-time Star Trek fans think about that stuff. And I think it's a very cool idea. And as you say, you know, it evolved into a lot of other great episodes involving the Andorians after this. And I hope we see it again, to be honest, with Discovery in the future.
I think all in all, I think this is definitely an episode that you have to watch. It's not an episode you can skip. It's definitely a must-watch episode.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't watch this, you'd be watching Andorian episodes later on, thinking, "What the hell's going on?"
Yeah,
you know, it's important. It's a good one.
And I think that pretty much wraps up this episode's review. So, if you don't agree with us, if you have thought of things that we've missed out on, leave them in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts, or even tweet us at Trekmate1701, or join us on our Facebook group, facebook.com/trek.mate.1. We love chatting to you guys, so it'd be great to hear your thoughts on the episode as well. So remember to do all of the YouTubes and favourite, like, and subscribe, and we would love to hear from you guys.
Well, thanks for joining us for another Trekmate review this week. I've been Jude Hawkins.
I've been Wayne Emery, and that is Trekmate.